We've got breaking news that exposes Donald Trump as a slightly even bigger liar than we knew him to be as of yesterday. Donald Trump can now be added to the list of Trump staffers. I mean, he is sort of the main guy who met with the Russian Ambassador Sergey Kislyak during the presidential campaign. And you might recall that during the campaign, Donald Trump repeatedly claimed he had no contact, period, with any Russian officials at all. Full stop. That claim has now imploded thanks to articles from both the Wall Street Journal and Think Progress. We have learned that Donald Trump personally met with the Russian ambassador on April 27th of 2016, right before giving a major foreign policy speech in which he talked about how it would be really, really great to improve relations with Russia. The Wall Street Journal actually reported on this last year, back in May. But at the time, we didn't yet have two Trump cabinet members who got caught lying about their meetings with the Russian ambassador, so it wasn't hugely reported on. This is from the Wall Street Journal on May 13th. Quote, a few minutes before he made those remarks, Mr. Trump met at a VIP reception with Russia's ambassador to the U.S., Sergey Ivanovich Kislyak. Mr. Trump warmly greeted Mr. Kislyak and three other foreign ambassadors who came to the reception. Now, Kislyak, according to multiple news reports from that time, none of which, by the way, are being refuted or denied, was seated in the front row. It was an invitation-only event. The Russian ambassador was personally invited to a Trump speech on foreign policy. And again, Donald Trump has insisted repeatedly that neither he nor anyone in his campaign was in contact with Russia during the election. We've since learned that at least four members of the Trump campaign, Jeff Sessions, Michael Flynn, Carter Page, and J.D. Gordon, spoke with Russian officials during the campaign in some capacity. You probably heard that Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor, has already resigned in shame as a result of lies he told regarding his conversations with the Russian ambassador. Jeff Sessions, the attorney general, has been caught lying about it. Former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort also had to resign because of an investigation into possible illegal payments he received from Russia. It's okay, Pat, to meet with ambassadors. That in and of itself is not suspicious necessarily. When you try to conceal it and actually lie about it, not once, but again and again, multiple people in your administration and campaign, that's what makes it incredibly suspicious.
You could make the critique that a presidential candidate shouldn't meet with an ambassador, though, because we have this idea of having one president at a time.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it would have blown over. And for Donald Trump to continue lying about it, that's what's really suspicious here, because it opens up the question of
why
who
are
else
they lying?
might he? Yeah, he may have talked to other people. What was the conversation about, et cetera.
It's also somewhat suspicious to have a supposedly hostile nation's ambassador at the Republican National Convention, which is where Jeff Sessions, that's one of the places where Jeff Sessions met with the Russian ambassador, as well as in front row seats at Trump's first major foreign policy, America First type speech, where he talked about cooperating with Russia. Does anybody see how this is insane? And I want to tell you about another layer of insanity that's not actually being reported. I looked at a release from the Center for National Interest about this speech, and it lists Jeff Sessions as an attendee. This means that although Jeff Sessions originally lied about having met with the Russian ambassador, later it was admitted that Jeff Sessions met 2 times with the Russian ambassador. His attendance at this meeting, which we have now learned about, would actually be meeting number 3 between Jeff Sessions and the Russian ambassador. This was an invitation-only campaign event. If these meetings are so benign and trivial, according to Trump's people, why not just come out and list all the meetings instead of denying and lying and obfuscating again and again? Al Franken believes that Jeff Sessions perjured himself, and we're going to deal with that a little bit later in the show.
Right, and Jeff Sessions claims that he doesn't remember what he spoke about with the Russian ambassador. If there was 3 meetings, how could you not remember any of the content there?
Not only that, at one point he claimed not even remembering having met with the Russian ambassador. And then he said, oh, well, okay, he did meet with him twice. Actually, turns out it was 3 times. What did they talk about? I can't quite recall. Reminds me of Alberto Gonzalez. That's another attorney general who, during the Bush years, would regularly say he just doesn't remember what happened.